Let me tell you the story of a dashing young prince of a relatively small kingdom, forced into battle before he was ready to fight armed only with his rapier. Aided by his old man in purple armor atop a horse, Christmas-colored cavaliers, and an archer in armor with green hair, he was eventually also aided by a group consisting of a Pegasus knight, a beefy sword dude, and some dudes with axes.
Well, that was a load of shit. I think they used our likenesses. Can we sue?
Out the butt.
Yeah, we should sue.
Few jobs in Fire Emblem are as time-honored as the old dude on a horse. It's been around since the beginning of the series and has been a staple in the franchise ever since its inception. Sure, sometimes the old man on a horse isn't an old man at all. Sometimes it's an attractive redhead. Sometimes it's not an old dude, it's a younger man dude. Regardless of the age, gender, or if they're even on a horse, the old dude on horse has been a crutch for many a player. And today, we'll be looking at the old dude on a horse, so powerful, he got to be used twice. Marcus, the multi-generational Knight of Pheraen. Now, Marcus is introduced in Binding Blade, which is kinda a problem for him in the characterization department. Why? Well, Binding Blade characters have this thing where if you aren't in the main story of the game, you don't exist. This isn't like Kaga Saga or Three Houses, where characters that don't matter to anything get 3 thesis papers worth of dialogue. If you're a minor character, all you get is maybe an introduction line or two, and then you become nothing more than a mute face for the rest of the game. However, Binding Blade introduced the now series staple support conversations, so we can use them for information on Marcus's character. Marcus has supports with only 5 characters, his fellow Knights of Pheraen, Roy, and Lilina. It's not a very diverse list of characters, but his supports do a well enough job of characterizing him as a strict but well-meaning old warrior. He's very good at identifying a knight's strengths and weaknesses, and using that knowledge to help them grow even stronger. He imparts his wisdom onto Alan, Lance, and Walt because, let's be honest with ourselves, if there's anyone in Binding Blade who could use a little help in the not-sucking-ass department, it's Walt. His support with Alan has Marcus approach him with a very simple request. Calm the hell down. See, Alan deploys a very simple fighting style. Run in like a mad lad and kill anything that moves, regardless of what his enemies or his allies are doing at that time in the battle. While Marcus commends Alan's bravery, he remarks that Alan needs to show some degree of patience. He can't run in guns blazing all the time. Marcus both recognizes and respects Alan's perks while educating him on what he needs to work on, the mark of a good mentor. The end of support has Marcus entrust Alan with taking his place in the Knights once the war is done. As if anyone's aware of how old Marcus is, it would be Marcus. He acts as a mentor with Lance as well, though Lance's problems are less with his fighting style and more with his mental state. Lance feels as though he is an outcast among the Knights of Pheraen, as he is not native to the land. He feels that the fact that he was once part of a different group of knights makes him unable to fully be part of his current band, but Marcus enlightens him that it's literally the exact opposite. Lance's experiences from afar give him a perspective that no one else around Roy can have. As Marcus puts it, quote, "If only Pheraens were around Roy, he will grow into a person with limited views. We need someone like you who knows other parts of the world." Lance walks away from Marcus's lesson more confident in himself. The doubts in his mind vanish once Marcus gave him, ironically enough, a different perspective on them. And with Walt, Marcus again acts as a mentor to a young man in need of some advice. Walt is feeling inadequate at his ability to help Roy, feeling that his archery skills are not good enough to measure up to anything substantial. However, Marcus remarks that combat alone is not the only way to show your loyalty to your lord. Walt is something to Roy that no one else in the Knights of Pheraen can be to him. A friend. Marcus, and to a lesser extent Lance and Alan, are all much older than Roy, but Walt and Roy grew up together and were raised like brothers. Walt can help Roy simply by being his normal, cheerful self. And Walt takes Marcus's words to heart and starts to have more faith in himself and who he is to his friend. Marcus's judgment is not flawless though, as his support with Roy highlights Marcus is capable of error. The support has Marcus acting like a traditional old man. Yeah, you know the kind. Young kids these days don't know how to fight. Back in my day, we walked to school in 27 feet of snow on the ground and nuclear strikes coming from the air, blah blah blah. Marcus thinks that they should stop being so accepting to new recruits, that they should be more selective in the caliber of knights they employ. However, Roy remarks that neither he nor Marcus are omnipotent. Who they think are low-quality fighters could be doing really well when they're not looking. Roy believes that they should accept anyone who has the strength and resolve to join them, and Marcus concedes that he was wrong, helping him stand out as not too strict of an individual. His final support with Lelina isn't really a standout for him, it more so characterizes Lelina and Eliwood, but I wanted to bring it up because of how fucking hilarious it is mechanically. The support is about Lelina's crush on Roy and how she wonders how she should address it. In the A support, Marcus encourages her, telling her that the time of ladies waiting for men to sweep them off their feet is over. Lelina should be the one to make Roy fall for her, not the other way around. That's all well and good, but Marcus says this in the A support. If Lelina and Marcus have this conversation, that's Lelina's A support. She doesn't get a second one, meaning that it's literally impossible for her to get Roy to fall for her. So, rest in peace, Roy and Lelina, victim to really weird and jank game mechanics. And that's all there is to Marcus in FE6. An old man with a well of experience and a desire to give it to the next generation. He's not exactly like Reynolds or Carroll levels of complex and interesting, but not everyone needs to have 3 novels worth of backstory. However, Marcus does have another appearance, in the prequel to Binding Blade, where he wasn't an old man! He was instead just a man. And just like before, Marcus doesn't really exist unless you dive into his supports. So with that in mind, we've got 5 more supports to cover. So without further delay, let's have him talk to more Knights of Pheraen. Alright, just gotta take out my totally legally acquired English copy of FE6, and then slide in my actually totally legally acquired copy of FE7. You know, it's really hard to do this with one hand when you're recording something. Don't make fun of me. Alright, let's fire up this bad boy. And here we go! Whoa, what do we have here? It seems my Game Boy Advance cartridge of FE7 is reminding you to subscribe to the FE MS Paint Patreon. By clicking the link in the description, for as little as $3 a month, you can get early access to videos, and, if you want to pay in the big bucks, you can vote on polls to decide the future videos that go up on this channel. Right now, it's a battle between Sigurd and Seliph, and it looks like Sigurd's gonna win, so go for all his fans. Those patrons include the likes of Atomic X160, Dell, follow Penta the North Star on Twitch, subscribe to Great Riek, Green Brigand, Hell on Heelys, Hollow, Kieran Morin, Nember, Nevrix, Rangerman Sam, Wurio Carroll, Ryan Walter, Space1255, Steph D, Brentendo11, Drew Hack, Lightning Bolt, and Michael Hamilton. Thank you all for your continued support, and let's get back to Marcus! In FE7, his supports with Eliwood and Lowen show him to be quite a bit more passionate when he was younger. He's prone to much louder and longer bursts of praise for Eliwood than he was Roy, and his instruction with Lowen is a lot more direct than with Roy's knights. He kicks Lowen's ass a ton of times before Lowen hardens into a stronger knight because of it. But Marcus is still a mentor at heart. He's never afraid to bring up how proud he is of Lowen and Eliwood, continuing to encourage them to improve while praising their progress. I guess age really had nothing to do with Marcus's skill in educating the knights under his employ. His support with Harkon is similar to his support with Lance. Like him, Harkon is not a native of Pheraen. The house he served before has collapsed, and he wandered into the Knights of Pheraen after a bloody past. Harkon is feeling doubts that a sinner like him would ever be welcome into the Knights if they all knew the man he once was. Marcus puts Harkon's fears to rest though, telling him that the man he once was is not the man he is now, and that Harkon should always remember that. After all, Elbert and Eliwood both accepted Harkon into their home because they trusted him. If he thinks their decision to believe in him was poor, then in a way, he would be betraying the trust they have in him. And Harkon learns to accept their kindness and be the best knight he can be, reinvigorated by Marcus's counsel. His support with Isidora consists of two knights of equal caliber conferring with each other over the state of their young lord. They both note how tough it is for Eliwood at this point in the story. His father died in his arms and he's been allowed no time to grieve. Marcus remarks that sadly, they're unable to fight that battle for him. His pain must be tackled by himself. But that doesn't mean they can't help him, as they vow to remain strong together and return Eliwood home to his mother safe and sound. His support with Isidora also has her thanking him for being his normal hard-ass, strict self. Isidora remarks that Marcus never treated her any different because she was a woman. He was just as hard on her as he was youths like Lowen, and thanks to Marcus's strict guidance, she was able to grow into the strong woman she is now. It's not much, but it's a little scene that helps show how Marcus simply being Marcus can be seen in a different light depending on the perspective he's shown from. And lastly, his support with Merlinus is a much more lighthearted one than his others, in part because Merlinus himself is kind of a gag character in the games, to be honest, and also in part because the support itself allows Marcus to relax a little bit, as much as a man like Marcus knows how to relax. Merlinus cooks up some baked puddings in his spare time, and he invites Marcus to try them out. To his surprise, Marcus not only enjoys them, but he also gives them a critique befitting of a gourmand. Being able to taste the ingredients so well, he can pinpoint exactly what place in the world Merlinus got them from, and is able to remark on the strengths and weaknesses of things like the texture and charm of the dish overall. Marcus being a foodie is a pleasant surprise, because Marcus really doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to know what the hell a hobby is. And it's just one support, but it's enough to give a glimpse into Marcus's casual life that was never touched on anywhere else, which makes him feel less like a generic knight and more like a person who is a knight, if that makes any sense. And that's about it for Marcus. He's a strict mentor who garners respect from his pupils due to his incredible skill. He's been beside the House of Pheraen for 3 generations, and even when he retires after the events of FE6, he is still sought after by young knights across the land to teach them his wisdom. He may very well have been teaching young men all the way up to his last breath, and naturally, as he was damn good at the job. To many, he was just a footnote in the Elbian duology that got benched for younger, sexier knights, but he's a good example of what Fire Emblem does well. He's a man that's not the most complex or fascinating, but still has plenty of rewards for those who want to learn more about the greatest knight of his time. Thanks so much for watching another exciting installment in I Talk About People over MS Paint Slides. It's been fun to make it, and I hope you come back for the next one. As always, huge thank you to Green Brigand for helping with the script. He looked over it, checked my spelling errors. I probably still spelled shit wrong. I'm sorry. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, subscribe to the Patreon, do all that shit, and have a good day. No meme at the end here, just reminding you to love yourself. Until next time.
Change the world. My final message. Goodbye.